What's up, and welcome to Unspoken Conversations. I'm James Crow, and here we talk about issues and situations that are in plain sight. Things that people hate to talk about, but it needs to be said, from relationships, families, friends, and life. Our goal is to shed light and understanding so that just maybe we can start to rebuild relationships, families, and ultimately, our communities. What's up, guys, and welcome back. In this episode, I want to ask a question. This question is, what's wrong with going 50-50 on the first date? Ladies, fellas, what's wrong with going 50-50 on the first date? Why is it such a cardinal sin to request Dutch on a first date? Why is it such a cardinal sin? I know y'all thought about this before. All right? Here's the thing. The person who requests Dutch is not the problem. But nor is the person that don't want to go Dutch. The problem is that neither one of them discussed this before the fucking date. See the problem? Each one came into this with expectations of what the other person would or should do. And they were both wrong. So their preferences weren't wrong. Their preferences wasn't the issue. The issue is that neither one of them discussed it with the other person before it got to date night. Now, who's the idiot here? Both of them? Ain't just one, it's both of them. So here's the problem. The problem is just communication. That's all it is. It's just simply communication. She should have said, let me rephrase that. I don't want to start with she because I don't want it to sound like I'm lady bashing. That's not what it is. He should have communicated that the way he thought was, he feels like Dutch is the best way to go on the first date out the gate. When the conversation ever started between the two people, when they exchanged information, that conversation should have came up right then. So what do you feel about going Dutch on the first date? Not the second, not the third, but what do you think about going Dutch on the first date? To get her opinion, to see what she had to say. And from there, he could have said, all right, I feel you. I understand. Whatever she says, doesn't matter what she said. Excuse me. He could have then said, all right, I feel you. I understand. Here's my thoughts. I never wanted to go Dutch. I never wanted to go, the man pay for everything on the first date because I want to see just how into me the woman is. If she's only here for the date, then it lets me know we don't need a second date. But if she's willing to pay on the first date, her part, and I'm willing to pay on the first date for my part, and we can both agree to go on a second date, and I'll pay on the second date, and her time and my time was worth it to go on a second date, then I can pay for the second date. If he would have communicated that to her out the gate before they ever made it to date night, then probably there wouldn't have been an issue. The issue was nobody communicated what they thought, wanted, or felt. It wasn't that he wanted and wasn't that she wanted. It was just a communication. And all too often, this is what's going on. People put these unrealistic expectations on one another, and they don't tell the person what these expectations are. What the hell you think is going to happen? They're going to fail because closed mouths don't get fed. How are they supposed to know what you're thinking and wanting? How are they supposed to know that? They don't know. They don't. So you have to say what you mean and mean what you say. It's just how it goes. If I feel like I don't want to have to be the one picking this woman up from work every day and drop her off at work every day because she doesn't have a car. In the beginning of this relationship, when I realized that she don't have a car, it should hit me in my mind that this is going to be one of the burdens that is placed on me. If I don't want to do this, I need to make this known out the gate before we get deep into a relationship. Hey, so before we get any further, is it going to be a problem that you don't have a car and I got 3 cars? If she says, no, I don't have a problem with it, but you do have 3 or 4 cars, don't you? Yeah, I got 3 or 4 cars, but typically I don't let people drive my cars. There's a communication. There's just a simple communication going on. The fact that they're having this simple communication, it lets her understand what he's thinking and it lets him understand what she's thinking. And the two of them can decide whether they want to keep going with the relationship or end it, because they have two different ways of viewing things and they're going to clash. I understand the clash. It's not a big deal, but I would rather think and ask than to think, not ask, and not know. And then the day that here we are trying to have a talk about it, boom, there's a whole blow up. Because I didn't say what I mean and mean what I say, nor did she. It doesn't make sense. But this is what's going on. This is what's going on. You have people entering a relationship, and these people entering a relationship, one of the two has got trust issues. And they automatically expect the other person to live their life based on how the one with trust issues thinks. The problem with that is, how the hell they know you got trust issues just because you told them? How do they know that the way you move is the way they need to be moving unless you tell them? If let's just say the woman has trust issues. Let's say that, because typically dudes can be on bullshit. They don't pay attention to a woman's feelings. Typically, not always, but typically. So let's say that's what it is for the sake of this example. Let's say the woman has trust issues. She comes into the relationship and she tells a guy, I've always had trust issues because every guy I've ever dealt with, he cheated on me. He did this, he done that, he got girls pregnant. Let's say that's what was going on here. All right. If she told this dude straight out the gate, so just so you know, I've always had trust issues. And if I was to text and call 3-4 times, it would make me feel like you're up to no good. Because every time that this has happened to me in the past, somebody was going behind my back or somebody was cheating or messing around or doing this, and this. So just as a word of advice, please, whatever you do, if you see that I called you 2 or 3 times, please, whatever it takes, call me back, text me back, hit me back so I'm not worrying, because my past is going to have me thinking about something that ain't even real. So if you could help me with that, I would very much appreciate it. All she had to do was say that. All she had to do was say that. If he's a good dude and he really likes her, he's going to take accountability, and he's going to do exactly what she said to keep her in the safe zone, to keep them in the safe zone. But if she don't say it, how is he supposed to know? So if she's expecting this to happen but never tells him, all she said was I've had trust issues in my past and it's hard for me to trust people. If that's all she's ever said, that's not communicating. She didn't communicate what's really going on. She just told her something about her. She just told him something about her. That's not enough for him to make the necessary steps to help fix her issue. He doesn't know. So some of y'all don't want to tell your business. But if you're going to be in a relationship, some things you have to tell. Some things you have to put it on the table. You have to put it all out there so they can make the decision whether to stay or go. They can decide whether or not this is something they want to work with or they don't want to work with. You get what I'm saying? Some people can't deal with your shit. Flip it. Some of you dudes is out here getting in relationships, and you're not telling these women that you got a sex problem. You are a low-key an addict. You need to be out here cutting on chicks. Some of you fellas ain't telling women this. Some of you women ain't telling, some of you dudes ain't telling women that you got 8, 9, and 12 kids. And then you get with this chick, you start messing with this chick, and next thing you know, she's finding out about all these kids, and now she's upset and angry because you didn't tell her something. If you communicate that you got X amount of kids in the beginning, what you do is you put her in a position to see what you got going on, and it gives her the option to say, this ain't what I'm looking for right now. This is not what I'm willing to deal with. But because you want what you want and you expect her to be okay with it, you withhold certain information that's going to put her in her feelings later. So ladies, I wasn't saying this only y'all. It goes both ways. Fellas, we do this shit too. Ladies do it. We do it. We just do it in different situations. Sometimes there's similar situations, but that's not what we're saying here. My whole example was that people's preferences is their preferences. Their preferences is not the issue. They can have a preference for whatever it is that they want. Just because this 6'3" black dude likes a 4'9" Indian chick, it doesn't mean he hates black women. It's not what that means. It means he has a preference, and his preference is what his preference is. So here you come along, some tall Bosnian chick, and this guy says, I actually like really super short Asian women. And you say, nah, you just don't like Bosnian girls, and you don't like your own kind. You don't like black girls. What the fuck? That's not what it is. It's not what it is. She's assuming his preferences is something totally different, because she's not seeing it as a preference. She's seeing it as clearly as something that he don't want. She's taking offense to this. She's got some shit going on. She's creating something that is not the truth. Because clearly, if she would have said, I've been rejected by men, they say they want this, but they really want that. If she would have communicated that, then he would have been able to tell her, oh, just so you know, no, my preference is, if I've always dealt with this type of chick right here, I really like this type of chick. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't date you. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't date her. It's just, this has always been my cup of tea right here. She can take that however she wants, but at least she said she communicated on her end. He communicated on his end. And now they can move forward, or they can halt, stop, let go. That's all it is. Communication. It's communication. Stop putting these crazy ass expectations on people and get mad when they don't meet them. That is bullshit. That is bullshit communication. And I know y'all know this. It's happening too often. Like a person can't even tell you something without you thinking that they're talking about something else. A person, I want to give an example. Let me see. What example can I give that's not going to be going into race or body shaming and shit? It's hard to really do it because everybody's so fucking sensitive nowadays, but I ain't even going to get into that. I'm pretty sure you understand what I'm saying. It's not that hard to get. It's not. It's really not. Your whatever it is that you like and love, that is your preferences. Some guys don't like bigger girls. If a girl who's just flat out ugly, I'm just gonna say it like that. It's not to talk shit about a person, but I have to give an example so that you understand where I'm going with this. If an ugly chick to the guy comes up and she says, let's just say she's big. Let's just say she's big, but she's ugly to the dude. If he says, nah, I really don't like bigger girls. If she thinks that he said, you just don't like white girls. You just don't like black girls. No, he said his preference. You took it somewhere else. You get what I'm saying? So sometimes a person can communicate. You just didn't hear that as communication. You took that communication and you flipped it. You turned it into something else. You did that. That goes back to the whole red flags thing. You're seeing red flags, you're seeing yellow flags, and you're trying to manipulate the flags so that you can keep it moving. That's what sometimes that's what people do. A lot of times that's what people do. But let's bring it back. Let's bring it back. You know, the whole 50-50 thing, the first date with 50-50 thing. The reason I even brought this up and it made it to the other part is because there are some people who've been dogged when it comes to taking girls on dates. You take 2, 3, 5 different women on dates just to find out at the end of the date, all right, thank you. And then they're gone, right? Gone. All they wanted was the food. Didn't really conversate with you when you was on a date. You know, they messing with their phone and all that. It's just you. A lot of times, y'all women, y'all may not understand this because y'all ain't the ones paying for these dates and having to deal with this shit often, very often. Y'all ain't really doing this shit often. The ones of you who's not. That's the ones I'm talking about. I'm not talking about those who are actually paying for your own self or paying for the dude in a date. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the ones who actually do not know what it's like to pay for your own date, nor pay for you and the dude's date. If that's what it is, then this is about you. Y'all don't know what it's like to go on 3, 4, 5, 6 dates, and the woman who you asked to go on a date just wants to use you up for a free meal. And then before you know it, at the end of the day, she's up and she's gone. The whole time she was sitting there, y'all's eating, she's eating all slow and she's texting and playing on her phone, and you sitting right here, you're asking her questions. She's answering her in the questions, but looking down at her phone the whole time. She look up at you for a couple of seconds and back down on her phone. Ladies, if you don't know what that looks like, then you have no idea what the man must be thinking when he says, I'll never buy another bitch no food I'll never buy another bitch no food. I'm never gonna, nah, hell no. From now on, she's gonna pay for herself, and then I'm gonna pay for me. And then when she shows me that she's worthy of me paying for all the dates, then I'll pay for all the dates. You hear what I just said, right? So after a man goes through that, and then he starts to say, so how do you feel about going 50-50 on the first date? The first date. If you immediately say, excuse me, I hope that wasn't loud. If you immediately say, nah, this guy, he's a walking red flag. He's a piece of shit. He's this, and this. You fail to realize that maybe there's a reason he has that preference. You don't know what he's been through. You don't know what he had to deal with. You don't know. It doesn't make sense to me that y'all can say this or that is the reason he did it. Y'all don't know. Because again, y'all ain't the one that's having to pay for numerous dates just so at the end of the date, the other person can get up and bounce and you never even hear. They don't answer text message. They don't answer calls. They don't answer nothing. Y'all ain't the ones going through that. I know numerous dudes that done had to go through that shit. So it makes sense when a dude's like, I ain't paying for nobody else's food. On the first date, she's going to have to show me that she's worthy of me paying for everything on the second and third date. So first date is almost like a tester. And y'all get mad and say, if a woman has to pay on the first date, then he's not worthy of a second date. Well, you see what's going on? You see what's going on? It's crazy. I personally don't want my woman or a woman, if I'm dealing with a chick, I don't want her paying for shit. Not on the first date, not on many dates. Once we get into a relationship and we're moving forward, yeah, there's some things that I won't mind her paying because she may need to feel like she's special and can do for me too. She may have that in her to where she needs to be able to make her man feel special. So if she wants to buy things, I don't have a problem with her buying things. I do not have a problem with her buying things. I have a problem with her buying everything. Because how can she be buying me things all the time and taking care of me financially, and I'm the so-called provider? That's not how that works. That's not how that works. If I'm going to be a provider, I'm going to be the strong, the man who the provider, the protector. I don't need her doing for me what I'm supposed to be doing for her. I want to do these things. That don't make sense? So for me to ask to go 50-50 in the very beginning, the only way I would do that is I would read the chick first out the gate. These conversations in the very beginning, before we made it to date number 1, I would throw it out there, say, so what is your thoughts on each other paying for themselves on the first date, so that both people can make sure each one is worthy of date number 2. And on date number 2 and so on, if you make it past date number 1, then the guy pays for everything past that, every date past that. If she says, oh, okay, I'm cool with that. Just like that, the communication was said and we can move on to date number 2. Without that being said, this is where the problem comes in. That's why all these dumbass videos are circling the internet, because this person didn't say nothing to this person before the date came. Now your so-called almost wannabe relationship done fell apart before it ever started because y'all didn't communicate. And it shows poor communication on both people. Not just him, not just her, both people. And this is sad. It's sad because we do it all the time. So I strongly believe if we work on our communication, a 50-50 date, a Dutch date in the very beginning wouldn't be such a problem if each person had an understanding as to why they feel a 50-50 date is important versus not important. You can come to a compromise. You can come to a conclusion. You can make a compromise and both of y'all can come out on top. But y'all have to have the communication without one saying, oh, no, you're a red flag. I'm not doing that. I'm not paying for it. It's because you want something out of the date. You want something out of the date. And that's where it becomes selfish. So I don't think very many men would have a problem with going 50-50 on a date out the beginning as long as he ain't going to feel played. Because ladies, you know what? I ain't even going to ask that question. Because clearly you would, the reason so many women get mad about it. So I'm going to get out of that. We at 20-minute mark. I think you get what I'm saying. If not, I don't know no other way to twist and turn it so that you can understand this shit. It's not that hard. It's just simple communication. All you got to do is ask questions. I'm the type of person that'll ask 108 million questions out the beginning so that I know where you stand. And then I will give my take on your answer in my situation. Therefore, I know what you feel. You know how I feel. Let's meet in the middle. You want to meet in the middle? You feel like it's worthy to meet in the middle? Are you okay with meeting me in the middle? If not, then we can cut this short right here. We ain't even got to go on the first date. We can let it go right now. Oh, you is rocking with me? You do want to go on a date? Bet. So how about this day we're going to do this, or this? How about that? And just like that, now you at least know what each other thinks and feels and you can move forward. But that's communication. It's just communication. People having a problem with shit is because expectations is not communication. If you expect something, the only way you can get what you need or get what you want is to communicate it so that the other person can handle your preferences. They can do what it is you need them to do. And if not, it means they don't want to. Respect that and move around. That's just how I see it. You ain't got to see it the way I see it. It literally.
It is what it is.
So if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. Till next time, have a good night.
They are so full of the cap, man.